Alright, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been going over for our JavaScript final, based off of our Murox JavaScript and jQuery 3rd edition text, working with forms and form validation. In the last video, I created the form. There it is. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and style the form. Again, I'm sure you've already had experience doing this. I just want to show you how I'm doing it. That's all. So I'm going to come into CSS and open up my style.css, and let's start here. All right, body, give it a background color, give it a font size, a maximum width, and a width, which I just made arbitrarily to 1,000 pixels. I was not worried right here while doing this as far as what how responsive this was going to be. All right, so you can see how I've changed it already. Okay, all right. I think I did want an H1 tag at the beginning, and I don't have one right now, so let me just put one right at the beginning here, because I'm going to style it, and if there's no tag, it's not really worth styling something, right? I just called mine the gym, so I'm just going to say here, the gym registration form. That's all. So you can see how it changed it. I now have that. All right, so I want to style that. That is my only H1. So I'm right now, at least, I'm not worried about an ID or anything for it. So. Also, just in case I need it, I like to put a clear fix. So we'll see later if we have to float anything one way or the other. And I think we're going to be floating our labels. So this will just say turn off any floating. All right. And I may have to go back and add that a little bit. Let me hit enter a few times here. So far I've changed some stuff on my body. Changed the background color, and these are Green Bay Packer colors. I'm originally from Milwaukee. Packers were always my team growing up. So, label, let's start prettying this up a bit. Float left. Width, I just made 10 M's. Margin right of 1 M. Text align right, and the color was the same as the one up here. So let's save that, take a look at our handiwork here. Oops. Alright, well, that's prettying it up somewhat. This is still bad, that highest education. And there's different ways that I can fix that. We'll worry about it in a little bit, okay? But you can see it's coming together. Again, it's not, is it fantastic? Heck no. All right, and I've also, looks like I've lost my morning, afternoon, and evening here for my desired shift. Oh, I forgot the words here, so that's fine. Morning, afternoon, and evening. And I guess I should have just kept them, but that's fine. So morning, afternoon, and evening. go back to my CSS. So very quickly make sure we've got those back. And there they are. Now this, I mean, one way I can cut this down if I want to, just so you know, is I can come back here and I can say, for example, high school, tech. And I can change this, for example, to like BA. And I can change this to MA, something like that, and PhD. Why? Well, you'll see why right now. Well, it still didn't give it enough room, but again, we'll worry about it later, okay? Let's go back to our CSS. All right, I just did my label. Now, for all of my input types, this might have been overkill, but this is how I did it. And there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. And also for the select. So, for a type of text, TEL, email, number, password, date, time, color, and URL. I think those are all of them. I wanted the width to be 300 pixels, a margin bottom of 0.5 em, and a font size of 0.75 em. And much of this stuff that was done, it's not that I have this unique ability to do this, it was just eyeballing. So let's see. Okay, still a little problem there, but it's coming together, as you can see. All right. For my radio buttons, so input, type equal radio, and for input, type equal checkbox. Maybe this will fix that up. I set a margin bottom, a margin top, and a margin bottom. Margin top to 5 pixels, and a margin bottom of 5 pixels. And again, I know there's plenty of ways I could have done that. All right. For my button, I set the width to 10 ems. I set the font size to 1.25 ems, and I set the color to that same pound 203731. Finally, and I'm not using it here, but I will use it later, I'll have span tags. And I just made the font weight bold, the color red, oops, and the margin left, pushed it over a little, of 5 pixels. And I do believe that's the end of my CSS. So about 60 to 65 lines of CSS. And that made that look like this. It pushed it down a little. Still got to work on that. I don't know why that's as bad as it is. But you can see it's come together pretty nice. I can move this over if I want. So for instance, I could come in here and I could say, I could take my button. Hopefully I'm not going to make a fool out of myself here. But I can take my button, my submit. It's got an ID of submit, okay, which would make sense. And I can give it a margin left of, let's try 8 M's. I have no clue. That moved it over somewhat. Let's try about 22 M's. Maybe that's too much. That looks pretty good. Now if I shrink this down, all right, again, I still have to work on this, but other than that, I think everything is looking pretty good. All right. And I think the problem is this has got the same width right here. This has got the same width as these do, and it's more than 300. So if I come back in and I look at my I said the width of all these was like 300 pixels. Let's try making it 350 pixels. See if that fixes it. Well, that didn't do what I wanted it to do, so. And I'm just going to leave it the way it is. How's that? I didn't want this to be a long lecture, and at 12 minutes, it's not, but now you can see this has been styled. All right, and just to very quickly show you, all right, if I do press submit, since this is a required field, all right, but if I put in, let's just put in a 1 for everything. I'm not going to change the state. We'll leave these blank. Password, date of birth, color we'll just leave, website, etc., and submit. Well, notice please match the requested format. That's a good start. So if we do that, it goes and it says all this must be okay. I'm not putting anything in right now to validate the state, but the zip code all right. Now the cell phone. Now the email. And it still doesn't like my format for the cell phone. Oh, that's better. And now it's got please enter a URL for the personal website. So and it's submitted. It sent all the stuff. Since it's a get, it put it in there. So what I've shown you in here in part 1 was how to create the form. In part 2, I came in and prettied it up a little bit. Still don't like that. But, you know, again, we're working with it. All right. And in the next part, what I'll do is I'll come back, make a copy of this form, and start adding stuff to it. And finally, I'll validate it using JavaScript. That's what I'm going to end up doing today, those 3 lectures. When I get done with that, and I will do it tomorrow. Sorry, I just got other things I've got to do today, and the time's starting to get away from me. But tomorrow I'll come back and create 2 more copies of this form, and I will validate it using just jQuery, and I'll validate it using a jQuery form validation plugin. All right, let's see. Last thing, does our reset work? I know there's errors in here, I understand that, but I thought we could change that to a different color, but let's see. There it goes. Alright, now if we click reset, good, our reset works. Alright, so just fixing that. Other than that, it's looking pretty decent. Be back in just a couple to validate this using JavaScript only.